Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now, the ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan Ducross. Let's get it on! Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now, the ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan Ducross.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. I'm Tristan Ducross, alongside, as always, is my brother, Sean Ducross. As you can clearly see, first off the top, we have our new hats, as you can see. So those that have bought the hats, we'll be getting them out shortly. We have two different variations. Let me get this in real quick. We have the DB logo here, the Ducross Brothers logo on the front. Sean's hat that he's rocking today is the other one that we have with the logo on the front. There you go. But we have an incredible show for you guys. We got UFC Fight Night 135 Fallout, but my mind is just spinning right now. My brother is a little bit uneasy because we have Jeremy Jackson, the former child star actor Hobie from Baywatch, is joining the Ducross Brothers live via Skype. It's going down, as you can kind of see. I'm nervous too a little bit because every so often, my brother and I, we get these opportunities to tell a story, to talk to people. And we did one years back when we wanted Sir Parker, former Texas A&M running back. If you don't know, you should Google him. But his story was very impactful, and we wanted to share that to everybody. Jeremy Jackson, if you don't know his past or his story, yeah. That guy right there, Jeremy Jackson, he's joining us in hour number two. Hour number one at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here. Super stoked to have him on because his journey is incredible. And dude, super stoked. Looking forward to having him. In the meantime, Sean, Justin Gaethje showed everybody that he was a man of his word and stood behind his word and knocked out James Vick. Does that come as a surprise to you?
Got knocked the fuck out.
I absolutely agree. Because Justin Gaethje, he was falling on hard times. He was 0-3 in his last three fights. Hasn't had the best of time in the UFC, coming over from WSOF. And a lot of people had this momentum built up with the highlight reels, knockouts, and everything else in WSOF. Many people thought coming over into the UFC that finally the name recognition, everything was going to kind of fall into place. And it was loss after loss after loss. And he gets James Vick on his contract, and he's just thinking like, man, this can't happen. I can't lose to James Vick. Because, A, he shouldn't be in the same weight division as me. He's cheating because he dropped so much weight, and now he's coming to face me. He's a bigger, stronger fighter. I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to end this. This isn't going to happen. I'm not going to lose 4 straight. And if I do, I'm retiring. Justin Gaethje did exactly what he needed to do, was shut up all the doubts in his mind and showcase why he is known as the human highlight and why he is known for the huge, big-time fights that he has.
Absolutely, and when you're looking at Justin Gaethje and the way that he came back and was in such dramatic fashion with the knockout that he had over James Vick and how much garbage and jargon that James Vick was talking about in this fight, to get knocked out like he did, it was one of those things that it was good for him to get back on the winning board. But they're talking about a potential title shot coming down the pipe for Justin Gaethje. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense at this point in time, because you look at the fact that he came off a 2-fight losing streak and snapped it. Yes, albeit that the knockout was fantastic, but at the same time, pump your brakes, because they're talking about that he should get the winner of Ferguson versus Pettis. To me, you shouldn't even be worrying about that. If you want to see a fight come out of that, then maybe Justin Gaethje gets the loser of Ferguson versus Pettis. But the most intriguing fight to me is that stylistic matchups means something to Justin Gaethje as being the most violent guy on the planet. So why not put him against Edson Barboza, who has suffered 2 straight losses, who's looking to redeem himself? Maybe you match those two up. Or there's even discussion that, hey, Kevin Lee's looking for a fight October 6th.
But you also have Ali Aquinta out there too.
That one didn't interest me.
There's a lot of fights that Justin Gaethje can go right now as long as he keeps this momentum moving forward. Because he's an exciting fighter. He's very intriguing fight matchups in that division. In the 155-pound division, this guy, if he can string together multiple wins, this is a guy that has the factor that, man, he can knock out anybody at any given time.
Absolutely, and that's the scariest thing. But I don't think he's in title contention worthy. Maybe if he gets one more shot and more highlight reel knockout or entertaining win, then maybe we're sitting here, we're discussing about Justin Gaethje getting the opportunity of fighting for the title. But there's so many people that are ahead of him right now. Like, you're talking about Khabib versus Conor McGregor for that lightweight title. That's who you're talking about right now. So you're talking about that fight being up here and everybody else is below that. You're talking about Ferguson's always been that next guy in line. Now you're talking about Anthony Pettis getting his shot back in line. So there's people that are above him. He's got to get one more win or 2 more wins before we're talking about him being at that next level.
See, and when you're talking about next level, how about what happened with Jake Ellenberger? Jake Ellenberger loses in a tough way, too, because he got KO'd. And when I'm looking at Jake Ellenberger, one thing that puzzled me is that you cannot come into a fight when in the back of your mind is doubt. When you come in doubting yourself, the end result isn't going to be kosher. It isn't going to be what you're looking for. You know, the fight fans have continuously heard us talk about how or why do we continue to see Diego Sanchez fighting at an elite level? And doing a little bit of digging, it was like, well, how is it that we are looking at this fighter, Jake Ellenberg, being 33 years old and still competing at a high level? Because Jake Ellenberger, 31-15. That's how many fights he's had. And then you look at Diego Sanchez, and Diego Sanchez is right up there. But when we talk about, oh, Diego Sanchez, why is this guy fighting? Diego Sanchez, 4-6 in the last 10 fights, 3 knockouts. Why I mentioned Diego Sanchez, because this is where I go into and question where the mentality was for Jake Ellenberger. Jake Ellenberger, his last 4 fights, all knockouts. In the last 10 fights, he's 2-8. 6 of 8 losses, all knockouts. How do you get knocked out 6 times in the last 8 fights and still think you can get up and compete? At some point, when you get knocked out after 3 times, maybe you start questioning it. At least Diego Sanchez did not get knocked out consecutively, except for the last 3 times. The guy's only been knocked out 4 times in his career. Jake Ellenberger's been knocked out 6 times almost consecutively.
You got knocked up.
Which, Sean...
So his retirement does not come as a surprise
No.
to me. Because you talk about going in doubting yourself. Well, you knew you were going to go in and get knocked out. You've been knocked out. Out of those times, 4 straight KOs have been knocked out within the first round by him. He's been knocked out in the first round. Only in one fight did he go past the first round. So where is the corner? Where is his camp saying, pump your brakes, We need to revisit your mentality. We need to revisit what it is that is going on up here between the ears that is getting you so confused about the game plan. Because clearly, whatever the game plan is, wasn't working. You're getting knocked out. Evolution. Change your camps. Change your mentality. You got to do something if you want to be successful. But if you're not willing to adapt or change, the end result will become the same. His end result became apparent. Jake Ellenberg, easy win. Knockout coming up. Ryan Barbera, knocked him out in the first round. Cool, I retire. It took you that long? I felt bad for Jake Ellenberger. I really do. Because this guy was the juggernaut. He was the next big thing.
He was the guy that was supposed to run through that division.
Yeah.
Highly touted.
And then just didn't do it. You begin to wonder if he was one of those fighters that just didn't have it between the ears. If his mentality wasn't quite there. But you talk about mentality and the approach to fighting and being successful. Well, the other guy that raised the red flag on this fight card was Eric Anders, former football player turned competitive MMA mixed martial artist. The guy came in and put on a showing against Lyoto Machida. And when you look at the next fight and you see Tim Williams, you're like, who's this guy? And you're wondering why you took a step down. Because all this did was, at the end of the day, hurt Eric Anders in the approach of where does he go next. Because of the fact that this fight was so competitive against a guy that should not have been competitive against.
I was just thinking about that, right?
He should have ran through him. And then people are like, oh, but he got a highlight reel knockout.
But when you go from Lyoto Machida down to a guy like Tim Williams, to me that's kind of just a step backwards. Like we're talking about Tim Williams, who competitively had a great fight against Eric Anders. But to see where that kind of that ladder is when you're looking at a Lyoto Machida and a Tim Williams, I didn't understand this matchup. It did no favors for Eric Anders and where he's trying to go in his career in the UFC.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that was like, how can you talk about the highlight reel knockout when the fact that it happened mere seconds before the fight was over? Mere seconds. And it was a fluke. He threw a kick as Tim Williams was getting up and he got cold clocked in the head. He was seconds away from getting DQ'd too, because of the fact that his hand was this close to being on the mat. So it's like, come on, guys. Let's wait a second. Let's revisit this and see what's next for Eric Anders, because when you fight Lyoto Machida, your next step up should have been a competitive fight and not a competitive fight against Tim Williams. That's all I'm saying.
But then when you look at unfavorable matchups, and you're talking about matchups that were iffy, one of them on the card was also Angela Hill taking on Courtney Casey. And I even wrote this in my predictions, was that I'm never in favor of last-minute replacements for a fighter that has been geared up for one type of fighter, and that's about it. Angela Hill was that fighter that was geared for one way. On a short notice, Courtney Casey took that fight, and I said it could have been bad news for Angela Hill, because here's Angela Hill who's trying to put a win streak together, getting momentum, going in the right direction, and then she gets a curveball, almost basically a 12-6 curveball straight over the top. You get Courtney Casey, who's game ready, who's a grueling, grinding fighter, and at the end of the day, judges saw it in her favor, and it stopped all that momentum on Angela Hill. And it gave a lot of momentum to Courtney Casey, who took the fight on short notice and called out Mackenzie Dern and says that would be a fighter that she would like to see next. And I'm thinking, like,
Pump your brakes.
Right? Tisha Torres is more along your lines. Now, not Mackenzie Dern and what she's been able to do. No knock on Courtney, but she's just not there yet. To be calling out somebody like Mackenzie Dern. Tisha Torres is right there. A good competitive fight against Tisha Torres
will catapult you towards a little bit more towards the top.
Right, and then you can start making call outs. But right after beating Angela Hill in a decision, I would pump your brakes. Not yet. Not yet. You can call it later, but not now. You need to hold your peace and then call it out when your shot's there. Not now. But we're going to go to a break. When we come out of the break, we're going to talk about Cyborg Nunes. And right around the corner at 1:30 p.m., we got the man, Jeremy Jackson. We will be sitting down with him. He's joining the Sports Warriors, crossing that line to discuss about his life and his journey into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. More with the Sports Warriors right after this break. We'll be right back. I'm Tristan Ducross. This is my brother, Sean Ducross. More Sports Warriors with Jeremy Jackson coming up soon.
You're now listening to the Sports Warriors with Sean and Tristan Ducross every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You want all your local amateur MMA news? You want a new fresh take on pro MMA? This is your show every Wednesday on IELiveTV.com and Facebook Live.
Hello, I'm Lyle Murdoch of IE Live TV. Have you ever had an idea or dreamt about producing your own show? Or maybe you just have an event that you'd like to make available online? Then contact us here at IE Live TV. We are using the latest technology in live streaming and top quality video equipment in our productions. Servicing all audio and video needs, our systems are compact, wireless, and completely mobile, so our presence is barely noticeable. Here at IE Live TV, we're doing high quality audio and video productions at a fraction of the cost of other production studios. To find us, just go to www.ielivetv.com or give us a call at 866-831-5737. IE Live TV for quality live video streaming.
I'm Tristan Ducross, one half of the Ducross brothers. Let me talk to you about Phantom. Phantom is bringing you closer to the field every day with their Facebook page. From sports, from MMA combat sports, to basketball, to baseball, to soccer. We got every sport covered. From fans to professionals. Just go to www.watchphantom.com. All right, everybody, we are back. We are the Sports Warriors. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, my partner in crime, the one and only Sean Ducross. We have an incredible lineup for you guys today, as we just talked about UFC Fight Night 135 Fallout and what transpired at that event. Now we have a big-time event, not just Khabib and McGregor, big-time fight. No, we have Cyborg versus Nunes signed on a dotted line. The only thing is, we don't know what title is on the line, whose title, both titles, we don't know. All we do know, these two are going to scrap inside of a cage. And then following this, Jeremy Jackson is joining the Sports Warriors as he crosses the line and joins Sean and Tristan Ducross right here in the Warriors Den. Believe it. In the meantime, Sean, Cyborg Nunes, pretty much the last remaining fight that...
Last remaining big fight.
Fight that we could actually, I don't know, be excited about, because we're talking about Cyborg, we're talking about Nunes. Basically, this was the only fight to make for the 145-pound division and the bantamweight division. This was it. There's no fighters left. Everybody is jostling for position because these two are the mainstays. They've ran through both their divisions. There's nobody left standing but these two. So just like DC and Stipe Miocic, this was the only fight to be made.
It was. And it's like the way that UFC is going out with a bang, like they needed to do. Because this year, let's be real, it was a struggle. It's been a struggle for the UFC to get draws, we've shown it week after week lately about the draws from their title champions and everything else like that. So to see this fight, it was the right one to make. It's just a long list of big fights coming up. You got this one. You got Khabib versus McGregor coming out October 6th. I mean, this upcoming, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, somewhere around there? You've got Woodley versus Till. Come on. Darren Till's already talking mad junk. Then you got Diaz versus Poirier. It's just lining up one after another that the UFC needs desperately right now to end on a big note. So for this fight, I'm game. It's the only fight to be made in a women's division or two women's divisions that there isn't really much going on. Because Holly Holm, okay. Then after that, who else you have? You don't really have anybody. You don't have any other name value recognition within the division now. So it's not like Ronda Rousey who can go over, create movies, create winning titles on WWE. You don't have that next big draw. So in order to get that next big draw, you've got to put two titans together. And what better way to do it? I mean, look, at Nunes versus Cyborg right there in that photo, they almost look eerily similar. You've got one that is a featherweight and one that is a bantamweight. So they look similar. I would like to see this fight in Cyborg's weight class as a featherweight. That would make more sense to me. I think it would be more challenging because she's always been the queen bee that everybody says, oh, she's the one to beat. We got to knock her off. Well, here's your chance. The thing about Nunes is the fact that in order to beat Cyborg, you got to get inside. You got to make it grimy. You got to make it nasty. Well, Nunes can do just that. She typically likes to fight at range, but Cyborg is not going to let that happen. And Nunes is willing to embrace more of a brawling type of style. She's not afraid to engage in combat. But the one thing she can learn from her predecessor in Holly Holm, what she did against Cyborg, is clinch, fight dirty, fight grimy. Because Cyborg doesn't always like that, especially when the counterpart is equal in strength, if not a little bit stronger.
Sean, and for the first time, you're going to see a fighter that can literally stand toe-to-toe with a Cyborg and be able to implement the exact same game plan at the end of the day inside that cage.
And that's the thing, is like, we've said it before, okay? When Ronda Rousey came through, we said, Miesha Tate. Go back, watch all the film of Miesha Tate versus Ronda Rousey. The game plan was there and set by Miesha Tate on how to take down Ronda Rousey.
And the game plan is there too for Cyborg.
Absolutely. Holly Holm put that into motion. It's now whether Nunes is going to go back and look at that film. That is the question. Because how many fights after Miesha Tate did it take for someone to finally put that into motion? It took like 5-6 fights down the road before Holly Holm said, I got it. I know how to beat her. Be patient. Let her be reckless.
So who do you have in this matchup, in this fight, as we get ready to go out and bring in Jeremy Jackson onto the show? Who do you got?
So for me, I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to go with Nunes.
You're going to go with Nunes. What title do you think is going to be on the line?
It's got to be Cyborg's. It's got to be Cyborg's. It's got to compete against Cyborg. It has to be in that type of realm because she, like I said, Queen Bee, you got to make it for the featherweight title.
You really think that's where they're going?
Yep.
Wouldn't it be cool if you put both titles on the line? Let's just make history. Two of the baddest women on the planet, something that's never been done. Let's put both of them on the map. Let's put both titles on the line. Let's just have it basically an open weight for both titles because both women, their divisions, it's gone. These are the last two remaining workhorses. But Sean, we're going Jeremy Jackson. We're going to take a quick break, get everything set up, and bring on Jeremy Jackson into the Warriors Den right here on the Sports Warriors with your boys, Sean and Tristan Ducross. So sit tight real quick.
You're now listening to the Sports Warriors with Sean and Tristan Ducross every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You want all your local amateur MMA news? You want a new fresh take on pro MMA? This is your show every Wednesday on IELiveTV.com and Facebook Live.
Hello, I'm Lyle Murdoch of IE Live TV. Have you ever had an idea or dreamt about producing your own show? Or maybe you just have an event that you'd like to make available online? Then contact us here at IE Live TV. We are using the latest technology in live streaming and top quality video equipment in our productions. Servicing all audio and video needs, our systems are compact, wireless, and completely mobile, so our presence is barely noticeable. Here at IE Live TV, we're doing high quality audio and video productions at a fraction of the cost of other production studios. To find us, just go to www.ielivetv.com or give us a call at 866-831-5737. IE Live TV for quality live video streaming.
I'm Tristan Ducross, one half of the Ducross brothers. Let me talk to you about Phantom. Phantom is bringing you closer to the field every day with their Facebook page. From sports, from MMA combat sports, to basketball, to baseball, to soccer. We got every sport covered, from fans to professionals. Just go to www.watchphantom.com. All right, everybody, we are back. We are the Sports Warriors. We are Sean and Tristan Ducross. I've been talking to this guy for the last couple of days, and my mind's blown because it's an absolute honor to have this gentleman on our show. I've always wanted him on our show, and I finally got him. Jeremy Jackson, welcome to the Warriors Den with your boys, Sean and Tristan Ducross. Thank you, my man, for doing this.
Oh, thanks, man. It's a pleasure and an honor, brother, of course.
So, I want to talk about your life leading all the way up until Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where you're at today. And you've had some highs, some lows, some peaks and valleys in your life. Man, you're sober now. You're clean. Tell us how that journey's been for you.
Man, I hope you got about a couple hours. Hey, you know, I was born with this tendency to just be an extremist and to seek outside things to fix my inside self, since I was a little kid, man. And that's the thing that helped me get famous. I loved the approval and the accolades from adults when I was like 6 years old, doing a really good job singing, dancing, acting, putting on comedy shows. I got the applause of adults, and I was like, man, okay, this makes me feel good. So I sought after that, and I think the addiction genes, they call it, kind of goes hand in hand with being at my craft, at acting, singing, dancing, the more successful I became. And that was just in me as a young kid. So, eventually as I made millions of dollars and did lots of TV, I had a lot of power, and I had a lot of, I pulled a lot of weight when I was real little. So I started seeking other things to get high. Right? You get on stage in front of 15,000 adoring fans that are passing out, that are screaming your name, and when you see that as a little kid, Michael Jackson was my idol when I was a little kid. So when I achieved that, then what can get you higher than that? So you do some blow, and you get drunk and hook up with chicks at a party, playmates, and you're like, then you get that rush. Woo! Oh, now I've arrived. And then just constantly chasing that arrival, those peaks that you talked about. So, I fell into the major drug addiction, man, where it was ruining my life, and I gave up a lot of amazing stuff, and I walked away from a lot of amazing stuff, but I learned a lot of valuable lessons, man. And, I forgot those lessons later on in life. I was clean and sober for over 12 years, and life was amazing. That's when I had started jiu-jitsu. It was great, and I slowed down on the things that I had done to get me where I was at. So that gene crept back in and got a hold of me again.
So Jeremy Jackson here with the Sports Warriors with Sean and Tristan. You're talking about this addiction gene, but you've been in combat sports for a long time, and a lot of people didn't know that, but that's been in your DNA as well, has it not?
Absolutely, man. Originally it was dance, man. I was a big dancer at nightclub battles. I mean, we're talking aggressive crunk battling, break dancing, flips and kicks, dancing in clubs. And then probably about 23, I got into boxing. I boxed for about 6 years. Then I started training with some amazing Muay Thai guys. Did Muay Thai for years. I got into some Savate, some Jeet Kune Do. And I had always put off jiu-jitsu because I knew it was like, man, it's like reading a whole bookshelf of books. You're like, there's so much to learn. I put it off and I put it off. And one day I realized, man, if I would have just started, by now I'd be great at it. By now I would know so much. I got to stop putting it off. So I signed up for a tournament without ever taking a jiu-jitsu class 3 months out. And I was like, well, now it's do or die. I'm already in the tournament. I better start training. So I trained for 3 months and I did my first tournament.
And that's interesting, Sean here, Jeremy, because you talk about jiu-jitsu is like one thing that we were taught when we got into mixed martial arts was the fact that jiu-jitsu is very uncomfortable. And to get you just to throw yourself into it without knowing it, I can only imagine how uncomfortable it was.
Yeah, well, it was poop or get off the pot, you know what I mean? I was signed up. So I put my back against the wall, and that's kind of where I do my best work, I think.
So what was it like that? My brother Tristan told me that you recently competed in the Pan Ams and you took a medal in the Pan Ams.
Yep. I got gold at Pan Ams. I got bronze in the open division. It was awesome, man. It was a new experience, man. I podiumed at Pan Ams over 5 years ago, or about four or 5 years ago. And shortly after that, I dislocated my knee, tore my hamstring, my ACL, my PCL, my patella tendon. I annihilated my knee. And I stopped rolling for many years. So, coming back to the sport this time, I didn't expect anything. 5 years ago, I won like 14 straight fights. I got medals in white. I got medals in blue. I was winning everything, and I was just running and gunning, real aggressive. And this time I came back just so much more humble and so much more grateful just to be a part of the community again, just to show up. I was nervous. Instead of doing a crazy warm-up and doing CrossFit-style workouts, I was meditating. I was listening to classical music, and I walked on that mat, man, just going, you know what, just just to be here is amazing, and just take it one fight at a time. And I was totally in a different headspace than I had ever been in a tournament, and I won 5 straight fights, and I got a submission out of one of the fights, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm winning that fight, and then the next one, wow, I won that one too. Holy crap! It was just a big surprise and really fun. I was really in the moment. It was great.
Talking about fighting, Jeremy Jackson, have you ever thought about competing in the realm of mixed martial arts and actually taking your skills to the next level?
You know what's funny is, probably about 6-7 years ago, Uriah Faber's a friend of mine. He was at my wedding reception. Yeah, I've trained with Frank Mir up in Vegas, Ken Hahn at Striking Unlimited. Rampage is a friend of mine. I've trained with these guys. I've had fun with these guys. Alistair Overeem was a friend of mine for a while. I went out to the Black Zillions in Florida. Went out to Coconut Creek, Florida, to the American Top Team out there. I've trained with some great guys, but Uriah specifically, when I was out in San Jose, he was like, I was probably about 33 at the time. He actually offered to have me move out there and to put me in camp and to put me in a UFC fight. And I don't know, man. I'm too old, bro. My nose has been broken 12 times, bro. I'm sick of my nose getting broken. That's why I do jiu-jitsu, man.
Come on now. I mean, you're looking at Bellator bringing all back the older guys. What are you talking about?
Listen, I think there's some space for like a celebrity grappling tournament. Like some exhibition fights. I would love to do an exhibition grappling match, something like 5. Get another big. There's a lot of big celebrities doing jiu-jitsu, getting good at it, wanting to put their training to the test. They do these celebrity boxing matches all the time, or celebrity fight nights and so on. I did one with Coolio. I don't know if you guys ever saw that video, but that's a fun video. It's on YouTube. I actually had a fight with the rapper Coolio boxing match.
Dude, that was way back in the day. Yeah. What are you talking about?
That's dusted it off now.
Not to dust off that archive.
The Sports Warriors here with Jeremy Jackson. Jeremy, you're talking about celebrities in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world. You're one of them. There's a long list now of celebrities joining this world. Demi Lovato, Nicolas Cage, you name it. Why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Like, to us, it's like an uncomfortable kind of fight game, and here everybody seems to want to do it. Like, why now?
I think it's all Higan Machado's fault, really. Higan Machado loves the celebrities, man. He's training all the celebrities up there in L.A. You got Matrix. I think Keanu Reeves with Matrix, he got into it. So a lot of these celebrities started getting into it, and a lot of these movies now they're calling for some of those great submissions and escapes. So it's a good thing to have in your tool belt, man.
So you're talking about grappling and tournaments. Have you thought about approaching the idea of doing a celebrity grappling tournament?
No, man. I'm waiting for somebody to put it together. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Shoot, we're going to have to get with our people and see if we can put that together.
Let's do it. Celebrity grappling.
You know how many people would be intrigued to see that, to sit down and see a grappling? Because, I mean, people around the world are going out and watching these jiu-jitsu tournaments, actually going to the ones in Vegas, the jiu-jitsu worlds now. So
I just had to pull out of Worlds. I had to pull out of Worlds a few weeks ago, man. A couple weeks ago, I was super bummed. Super bummed.
Why? What happened?
Life stuff. I work in the recovery industry. I do groups in rehabs, and I mentor a lot of guys that are struggling with addiction. And I got kind of sick. I injured my shoulder, but I was rooting and rearing to go. And some work stuff came up. Somebody really needed me, and I had to do the selfless thing, man. I had to pull out.
Well, you're talking about your journey. We touched on about a little bit earlier about your past and where you're at today. You, my friend, working now in the recovery industry, helping out others. How's that been to actually be able to help out people where you saw yourself years ago, and here you are now helping out others? Right.
Well, just coming from a place of gratitude and just feeling so hopeful and appreciative of another shot at a good life worth living. I think I would be, selfish to not give that away, and so many people need it. And you know, to shine a little light, man, to reach out a hand to anybody who might not think they're able or capable to put a life back together. It's been given to me, so it's my duty to give it away, man. And it's amazing how much jiu-jitsu can actually strengthen that bond with recovery, with putting the broken pieces of your life back together. Because, you know, in jiu-jitsu, you know, you might not know the answer to the problem that's presented to you, but there is an answer, you know, and the answer is never to freak out, flail around, panic, or you know, muscle it. The answer is always to find the path of least resistance, right? To find that open door. So you got to knock on a few doors. So you got to bump this way, bump that way, bump back, and you'll find that way. So jiu-jitsu's really empowered and strengthened my walk with just being a more spiritual person, being a more selfless person, my walk in recovery, and I just try to give that away to other people, man.
Jeremy Jackson, one thing we were talking about before we came on the show was when my brother told me that you were coming on the show, and I was just going back through my head about what you've been through the media and everything else like that. And it reminds me about why I like to do with what my brother and I do now with our interviews is to give back to the MMA community, because one thing, everybody has a story in the MMA community, in the combat world. Everybody has a story about why they do it. And there's not a lot of role models. And there's not a lot of people to look up to that say, hey, you know what? I've been there. But look at me. Look at where I'm at now. You are that prototypical guy. I've been at the bottom. I'm now at the top. If you think that you can't do it anymore, just look at you. You're the prime example. And this is why I love doing these style of interviews, because it's different.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Yeah, man. You know, people in the MMA community, they probably relate to the warrior's way, man. You know what I mean? A real warrior always seeks to be uncomfortable, you know, to push the limits, to take on things that might seem impossible, you know. And I seek to stay uncomfortable, man, to keep growing, to keep learning. I think it's a threefold thing. You got to sharpen your mind. You got to condition your body, and you got to feed your spirit. So meditation, prayer, education, you know, getting on the mat, learning those new techniques, that's sharpening the mind. Condition the body, beat it up, do those hard workouts, push that extra round, you know. So I think when you're taxing yourself, when you're feeding yourself, when you're beating yourself up on three different levels, which MMA will give you, man, because you got to be humble or you will be humbled. So there's some very spiritual aspects to MMA training, and I think we all have that in common in that world.
Jeremy, you're talking about being uncomfortable. Your brief little videos on your Instagram of you doing your CrossFit, you look like you make people very uncomfortable.
We definitely get some good workouts in, man. We definitely do.
Jeremy Jackson, would you say that one thing with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, would you say that has been one of your most gratifying involvements to bring you full circle to where you're at right now, basically saving your life and moving you forward?
100%, man. If it wasn't for the community, if it wasn't for the amazing coaches that have come into my life, if it wasn't for those guys sitting on that mat, you know, going to call me out if I don't show up for class, going to ask me where I was, you know, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today, man.
All right. Well, the Sports of Warriors here with Jeremy Jackson. Jeremy Jackson, absolute honor to have you on the show to talk about your life, your journey, and going forward. But one last thing on the way out. You pulled out of one Worlds. There's one right around the corner at North American Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. You going to be there?
Right. Yeah, I'm going to do it, man. October 22nd. It's local. It's the 23rd, something like that. It's a different Worlds, but I'm going to do that. I normally stick to the IBJJF tournaments, but I missed one Worlds, just like you said, so I got to jump in on my last opportunity to get a Worlds in before my purple belt. My last chance to compete at blue.
There you go. Jeremy Jackson going for his purple belt. I forgot to tell people, this dude's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and now he's going for purple.
So he's no joke. Straight up.
It's about to happen. It's just a couple months away. Hey, make sure to have people follow me at Jeremy Jackson Fitness on Instagram. You know, we're stronger in numbers. Let's team up. Let's unite. Let's magnify each other, and let's train hard.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy Jackson. Absolutely. Oh, Cyborg or Nunes? Who do you got?
Nunes for sure.
Khabib or Conor McGregor?
Not McGregor, I can tell you that much. Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, my man. Anything else you would like to say to your fans out there that are checking this out?
Hey, I love you, man. Thanks for the support. I hope to see you on the mats. I hope to see you at the tournament. If you're watching this, you see me at a tournament, come up, say hi. Let's give each other a handshake and a hug. And follow me at Jeremy Jackson Fitness on Instagram.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy Jackson, for joining the Sports Warriors. Crossing that line, appreciate it. Absolute honor.
Warriors!
All right, everybody. That was Jeremy Jackson joining the Sports Warriors right here in the Warriors Den. Yeah.
I think we nailed that one.
I think we nailed that too.
I think so.
See, every time we look, we try to do something different, try to give fans something different. You know, people say that, oh, we're like Ellen DeGeneres for a talk show because the way that we do interviews or the way that we have our talk shows set up isn't like your stereotypical MMA talk show, combat sports talk show. We do things differently. For Jeremy Jackson to join us and talk about
the community,
the community with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I'm literally speechless because you said it, Sean. To see where he's come from, to see where he's at now, clean and sober, to push his spiritual. You and I, we are very spiritual people because of our Native American background, and to see a guy that has embodied that is absolutely amazing. And Jeremy Jackson, I can't say enough, man. I'm just going to tip my hat to you, bro. You're an awesome cat. Awesome interview.
I don't want this to be the last time that we talk to Jeremy Jackson. Let's just be real on that one.
Absolutely. Jeremy Jackson, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on.
Follow him at Jeremy Jackson Fitness on Instagram. Show him the love, guys. Show him the support. We'll be tagging him too. Just continue to support Jeremy Jackson in his journey. Just stay up. I mean, the guy's willing to give you a hug and say hi to you at the next tournament locally.
Dude, we might have to go to this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament and meet up with Jeremy Jackson and have a sit-down conversation with him.
Absolutely. But you know what, fight fans? Before we go out...
Warriors! Just like he said, stand up.
Before we go out, the one biggest thing that has been hitting high all week was Curtis Harper. The guy, the boxer on PBC that bowed out... I almost
spit out my energy drink.
That bowed out of a fight as the bell rang. And people were so adamant about why he did it. And you know what? I was reading comments. I was tagged on Instagram to get my comments about this. And I was reading comments. People were saying that he bowed out because of the fact that the commission took 70% of his purse. But that's not the case. What happened was the fact that he told the Fox Sports 1 host, Jordan Hardy, that he wasn't paid enough for this fight. And that is why he needed to walk out, is to make a statement. So when you sign on a contract, the last thing I know is that the commission isn't going to go in and take money from you unless you did something for them to take that money from you. So my understanding is that they didn't take money from him. He got underpaid, but rather than telling his own manager, hey, dude, I'm underpaid, I don't want to fight, he signed on that contract.
And then bowed out.
He accepted the pay. Then he bowed out. So you complained about money. You complained about that issue.
But rather
but
doing
you
it
just
correctly,
hurt your own pocket.
Right.
Because nobody's going to put you on a fight card ever again. You just blackballed yourself from ever competing at an elite level of again. Yes, you're 13-6, and yes, the guy you were fighting was a 6-0 heavyweight prospect that everybody was high on.
Looked like a complete mismatch, but okay.
But the bottom line is that you complained about money, but yet you just screwed yourself in the long run.
Yep.
So either A, make it known that you weren't happy about the money, or B, call it a day, fight the guy, and then say, you know what? I beat your top prospect. Give me my money.
Man, Sean, one of them or both of them were stupid when they took the fight. Because, like you said, when you sign that contract, Sean, you're abiding by it. Like, if the money was an issue, why sign the contract? Why would your agent allow that? Why would you allow that? Like, did your agent not show you the contract and show you the money that you're getting paid? And
just what? They just covered it up and said, sign here?
Right? That's almost like what it sounded like. Like the agent didn't want him to see how much he was being paid, didn't really care. Maybe because the cut for him was more than what he was going to make. But you cannot just not fight when you signed a contract. Like, if you're thinking that makes a statement, no. But
yeah, it made a statement that you're a loser, right? Yeah, that may be a little bit harsh, but yeah, that statement made that you think was a good idea. No, just signaled you're a loser. You're a fraud.
But did you see how many people were in the audience when he walked out of that?
Well, because of the fact that it was the undercard. It wasn't even on the main card of PBC. It was the undercard. So what statement were you trying to make? That's the thing I don't understand.
Yeah, if you were on a pay-per-view card, if you were on a big time show, I get it. You're trying to make a statement, kind of like the protests that are in the NFL, but you just went about it all wrong. You did it on an undercard when maybe you had 500 people sitting in the audience. There was more publicity on this on social media with the video going viral than there was anybody talking about it from that event. So what does that actually say about what your point of walking out of the squared circle was?
And the thing too is that this fight was scheduled for 6 rounds.
6 rounds.
6-round fight.
And dude, you probably would have gotten knocked out in 2.
But still, it was a 6-round fight, and you bailed out to prove a statement. There is no statement to be made except for you look like a fool.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's, I guess you win some, you lose some, but just like Brock Lesnar written off of WWE TV now, so he could go 100% focus on the UFC run.
And it's funny. Really, Tristan? You had to hit the table that hard?
I did.
But
knocked out Jose Aldo.
The latest news on Brock Lesnar was the fact that he dropped the title because his contract expired to focus strictly on the UFC return to compete for the title against DC in early 2019.
Man, is he small now?
He looks really small, and I started to notice that on his last outings that he looked awkward small, though. Not like good small, like awkward small. Like he was slim here, but he had like a big noggin.
The beast incarnate is no longer a beast. He's just a puppy.
He may be a puppy to DC. We'll see when that fight comes around.
The way that I look at him, like I saw his match against Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns destroyed him, and like, bruh, I'm looking at Brock Lesnar, and I'm thinking, dude, you're just a shell of a beast now because you don't look as strong, you don't look as scary as you did. Off the juice, I'm saying I ain't worried, I ain't scared. DC shouldn't be scared.
I think DC, when he's watching WWE, that he's like, oh, that's Brock Lesnar now?
Right?
I ain't scared.
There's a photo going around
I beat Miocic.
Brock Lesnar from the UFC days to what he's at right now when he's off the juice. And I mean, oh my goodness. You look at the images that are out there. It's really scary to see that guy that's right now getting ready for a UFC return. That's scary because he doesn't look like the Brock Lesnar that everybody knows, and I think DC's going to actually knock him out.
Run right through him and drop him.
Yep. But that's it for the show. Where do they do Cross Brothers? October 20th, IE Fight Night Champions at the CPAC Center. Get at Lorenz Larkin. David Bramlett. You want to be on this card.
If
champions will be crowned.
If you are a youth fighter, then we are still looking for those next fighters, the next level to fight for the pancreation part of the card. I believe we're still also looking for a couple fighters on the main card for the amateur portion. So make sure that if you're a youth fighter for pancreation and that's your style and that's what you're doing right now, get at David Bramlett, get at Lorenz Larkin. If you're an amateur looking for a new platform, get at David Bramlett, get at Lorenz Larkin. This is the future.
IE Fight Night Champions, October 20th in Ontario, California. Don't want to miss it. The night of the champions where champions will be crowned. Hands will be raised. Titles will be handed out. Thank you to Jeremy Jackson for crossing the line, joining the Warriors.
Thank you for our producer, Lyle Murdoch,
Absolutely.
IE Live TV.
Yes, sir. We are out. Until next time, we do this every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Catch us on Facebook at the Ducross Bros. You can add us, Sean and Tristan Ducross. Until next time, we're out.
You're now listening to the Sports Wars with Sean and Tristan Ducross every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You want all your local amateur MMA news? You want a new fresh take on pro MMA? This is your show every Wednesday on IELiveTV.com and Facebook Live.
Hello, I'm Lyle Murdoch of IE Live TV. Have you ever had an idea or dreamt about producing your own show? Or maybe you just have an event that you'd like to make available online? Then contact us here at IE Live TV. We are using the latest technology in live streaming and top quality video equipment in our productions. Servicing all audio and video needs, our systems are compact, wireless, and completely mobile, so our presence is barely noticeable. Here at IE Live TV, we're doing high quality audio and video productions at a fraction of the cost of other production studios. To find us, just go to www.ielivetv.com or give us a call at 866-831-5737. IE Live TV for quality live video streaming.